Property lane where it's everything real estate. And tonight we have an interesting topic that many of you have been wondering, and you've had many questions about it, many concerns. So we decided at Property Lane to bring the executive director himself for the NEMA. You will get to know what is NEMA. You will get to know what are the roles of NEMA. What is a wetland? How do I get a certificate? What stops me from getting a certificate? What else does NEMA cover apart from wetlands? You know, most of us think NEMA looks for wetlands only, but they have a whole mandate bigger than wetlands that you do not know about. They cover quite a range of things. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me tonight our dear guest, none other than Dr. Barilrega Akankwasa. You're welcome. Say hi to the people.
Thank you very much, Catherine. A very good evening to our listeners and viewers. Pleased to be on this show.
Tell us about NEMA. What is NEMA?
So NEMA is an acronym. It's a short form of National Environment Management Authority.
Okay.
And NEMA is a statutory body that was established in 1994, 1995, with 4 main functions: to monitor, to coordinate, to supervise, and regulate all activities relating to environment in Uganda. So unlike what is popularly known, that NEMA is a wetland management agency,
Yes.
We are actually not in charge of wetland management directly in Uganda. We are in charge of the entire environment. But different segments have direct management agencies.
Okay.
Ours is to regulate them. We are regulators. How do we regulate? We regulate through measuring environment and social impacts of development, through a process that we call environment and social impact assessment process, and that's where you come in. So ours is to arbitrate between environment and development. So we are at the heart of development and environment management nexus.
Okay. Does that include things like dust,
All environment.
pollution,
All
sound?
environment.
Because one of the concerns of the developers is sound management, especially in Kampala. I don't know if you saw that WhatsApp meme that was moving, where the Lord Mayor was talking about noise pollution. That everywhere you step in Kampala, the sound is when it comes to Kololo today, there are bars everywhere. You find a church next to a school. You find a mosque next to, you know, there's a lot of noise in Kampala. As you walk on the streets of Kampala Road, you'll find people preaching. You'll find advertisers. Everyone has a small speaker. What does NEMA have to do with that?
So environment by law literally means everything. We are looking at the physical environment, the buildings, the roads, the industries, the railways, name it, the dams. We regulate all of those. We have the biological environment, the forests, the biodiversity, the water, the fish, the wildlife. Then we have the social aspects, the culture, the relationship between nature and the people. So the heritage, cultural heritage, all those are environments. So we regulate all. And then we have pollution. It's a global problem. Pollution of water, pollution of air, pollution of land.
Yeah.
So noise pollution is a very, very big problem for us. And the main cause is actually lack of proper land use planning. You are talking about Kororo.
Yes.
Kororo was a residential area. But now, because of limitations in physical planning, it is now reclassified as a mixed development area. Now, mixed development area means that the city authorities can now license other things beyond the residences. Things like lounges, you've seen lounges,
Yeah, quite a number of
eateries.
them.
Now, these eventually start playing music, open music. Some even bring bands, open bands, live bands, which is illegal. Which is illegal.
Yes. Who is responsible for controlling noise pollution?
So, like I said, in Uganda, the legal framework for environment management is such that we have responsibilities which are centrally managed by central government and responsibilities which are delegated to local governments and urban authorities.
Yeah.
Noise, waste management, and even wetlands are supposed to be managed by the local governments and urban authorities. However, because of capacity issues, we have had to come in on many occasions. Because if people report to the nearest sub-county or nearest town clerk or nearest city authority and they can't be helped, they can still appeal to NEMA. And in NEMA, we have inspectors, we go inspect, take measurements, because we have noise standards for the country. If we find that your development is emitting noise above the standard, we first give you an improvement notice, guiding you on what to do and what you can do to reduce the volume or to reduce the emission of sound to acceptable standards of the country. If we give you improvement notice, now we monitor you. If after some time the complaints are still there and we measure and still find you above, we either prosecute you or levy a fine on you or confiscate your equipment. And that we have done for several people. If you've come through our first floor here, our ground floor, you will find a heap of so many musical instruments and speakers confiscated from places that emit noise.
We are taking a very short, quick break. We will come back still on that issue of noise pollution. How can you help especially city traders or city dwellers or city users, you know, in terms of noise control? Yes, welcome back to the property lane where it's everything real estate. And we are here in the NEMA offices with the director himself. You were still telling us about noise pollution. As someone speaking from the real estate side, I see a shift because of noise and the too many bars coming up in Kololo. People are selling their land to get to more quiet places. You know, the high-end and the luxury consumers don't like noise. What advice can you give to bar owners and worship centers to control noise?
We should start with the primary cause of the problem.
Yes.
In my view, the primary cause of the problem is improper physical planning or land use planning. Both land use planning and physical planning. Land use planning in the sense that we shouldn't have residences and bars
Mixed up.
mixing. Those of you who have been in Dubai, you know we have electronic city, we have telecom city, we have medical city, you know. Zoning. We should have places of worship, we should have places of residences, we should have commercial places. Mixed use, land use is the biggest source of confusion. You cannot have a bar in front of apartments for residences.
Or in front of a school.
Or in front of a school or a hospital.
Imagine.
A hospital.
A hospital.
So the two cannot coexist. In Europe, of course, they have tried because of soundproofing.
Yes.
In Europe, you will not know where the church is, you will not know where the mosque is.
I would
The
like to
infrastructure
assume
is
there's
more or less the
technology.
same. All of the buildings are the same.
Yes.
So there is technology, of course, but you must apply it at the construction stage. If your building must not emit noise, then you must incorporate soundproofing within the construction design, which is not the case here because most of the affected places, it is the noise emitting land use that finds the residences.
Yes, yes.
Like Kororo, you have your apartments, You did not envisage that there would be noise, and so soundproofing was not your main objective because you were in a lush coral environment. Then eventually there is a bar, there is a lounge. Now the problem with the bars and lounge, they are playing music above standards. In a bar, a restaurant, a lounge, you are supposed to only play background music. You are not supposed to have a live band in a place that is not soundproofed.
Let's go to the interesting topic that gets everyone's attention, the wetlands.
Yes.
How are those building permits approved? Because you might find in places, to start with, Namamve, an industrial park, sanctioned by government, is in a wetland. Actually, most, if you come to think of it, most industrial parks are in a wetland. Who is giving these permits? And then when developers come to ask for certificates to construct in a wetland, you stop them. And I have read that Netherlands, most of Netherlands is reclaimed. Is reclaimed land from sea. And they've managed to live on the sea without any adverse effects. Us here, a swamp is disturbing us. Could it be an aspect of technology? Could it be lack of creativity from our architects? Where is the problem and how do we solve it?
So the issue of wetlands globally has been a problem. If you look at the global wetlands, global wetlands have been reducing at a very, very fast rate. Actually, more than even the forest cover, which we are all talking about. If you look at Europe, Europe has lost almost more than 50% of their wetland cover, followed by Asia, followed by America. Africa is still having slightly lowest rate of loss of wetlands because of the low rate of development. So everywhere where we have seen development in courts, especially Europe, US, Asia, development has come at the cost of nature, and wetlands and forests have been the biggest casualties. In Uganda, we've lost our wetland cover from 15% of our land surface to now only about, we are now about 9%. If we include only intact wetlands. If we include the semi-encroached, we are at 13% of our land surface. So you can see that from 15% in around 1999, late 1990s, to now 13%. If in the next 30 years we lose another 3%, eventually we are not going to have wetlands. What is at stake? There is a lot that is at stake when we lose our wetlands. They are our filters for the water. When it rains, wetlands act as the sieves for all the junk that would otherwise go into the lakes and rivers, where we get our water for production, our water for human consumption, fish that we eat, plus recreation. Nobody wants to be in a boat on water that is dirty. So wetlands are our filters, but wetlands also manage our floods. So to begin with, we must not have development come at the cost of wetlands. That is actually not development in our view. The development we need is sustainable development.
Can't we develop around it? Can't we coexist?
We can coexist.
In Uganda, every 30 acres. We wonder why you refuse developers from building in a wetland, yet every industrial park, okay, at least most of the industrial parks are built in a wetland, right? Expressway has a big portion of it, over 60%, going through a wetland.
That's true.
Which causes, you know, Uganda will develop in a way that is reactionary. If you look at our towns, how they've evolved, wherever a road passes, just
they come following.
A town will follow. So we are wondering, Are you just against development, or does government get the pass to build in a wetland and not the private developers?
That's a very, very interesting question. It's true that some time back, industries were actually allowed to be established in wetlands. A very good example is just here near me, Namamve, Mbale Industrial Park, Mbarara Industrial Park, and several others. It's only the recent industrial parks like Soroti, like Arua, like Chisoro. The recent ones are the ones which are on dry land, because we put a full stop on further licensing to utilize wetlands in a sustainable manner.
Could the idea have been that because it's an industrial park, we don't expect like big structures on it, probably to have temporary structures built?
To build a structure of any sort, unless you are suspending it, you have to backfill. Now, when you backfill, you are actually killing the properties of wetland of being a water sponge.
Okay.
So you are actually killing the water cycle. So whether it is a high-rise building, whether it is a bungalow, the damage is the same. You are actually killing the ability of the wetland to receive, store, and regulate flow of water, but also provide home to biodiversity, like I said earlier. So mistakes were made in the past, and these industrial parks were located there because perhaps it was a cheaper way, because wetlands is public land and is held in trust by government on behalf of the people of Uganda. So establishing industrial parks, wetlands were the most available land then for government, and easy to provide. But government has since changed the policy. Effective 2nd September 2021, which was my first day in this office. It was the first instrument I signed on my first day in office. So government has since changed from that. We know mistakes were made because government wanted investors, we wanted jobs, we wanted, income, we wanted industrialization. So eventually some strategic mistakes were made to locate these factories in wetlands, because Uganda is not short of land for industrialization. We still have land that can accommodate industries.
You mean government? Because I know that land belongs to people. And unless you're saying government has enough land.
All of these factories you are seeing do not belong to government. They belong to the people. So people can actually permit industries on their land. And actually that should be the way to go. Of course, to spur and attract investment, government sometimes provides affordable or even free land to attract investment. And that's where the concept of industrial parks came from. But we still have, as a nation, we still have land to even accommodate industrial parks, to even accommodate industries on private land. On private land, we have both private and public land where industries can be established. So these were mistakes which we learned from, and we have since moved away from. You've had the president on several occasions. He has issued several directives confirming that nobody should build in a wetland. Only those who are already there, especially factories, we are not going to break them because they were put there with approval of government.
And so talking of approval of government, we've seen those that are not government building in wetlands in different places. Talk of Busabala, you've heard of Kalidubi area there. Talk of Chanja, the different parts. We've seen developments happening in wetlands, while some are broken down, some are left to continue construction. How do you select who stays?
So just like factories you saw, the problem was not only on factories.
Yes.
Mistakes were made even in other areas. Residences, for example, apartments. I can give you an example. What's more, for example, you see here, Centenary Park, the industrial park, the industrial area, Kampala industrial area, the entire industrial area, and so many other places. Residences have been established on a wetland through backfilling, through encroachment. So Some were approved, some were illegally established. In our laws in 1998, after the 1995 Constitution, the 1998 Land Act entrenched protection of wetlands and prohibited further titling of issuance of titles in wetlands. So prior to 1995, there were so many developments that went into wetlands because there was no law to protect the wetlands. So historically, the mistakes were made both outside the law and within the law.
So how do you advise a developer who has bought land and probably didn't know it was a wetland and is in the process of getting approvals but has been rejected? What do you...
So if you are a developer and you are buying land, it's important that you do due diligence. How do you do due diligence? It is very easy for wetlands. First of all, a wetland, you can physically see that this is a wetland. So even if you have not done due diligence from NEMA or from KCCA or from lands, you can actually see their characteristics of wetlands. The first one is that most of them, if not all, they are all on lowland.
Okay.
Lowland because they receive water from hills surrounding the wetlands. Two are the type of plants that grow in wetlands.
For example?
For example, papyrus, H-togo. In permanent wetlands, where there is permanent waterlogging, there are higher chances that you will find the papyrus, you will find sage grass, you will find some palm trees in some seasonal wetlands. Those palm trees won't be in the permanent waterlogging. So there are characteristics that you can clearly see. And besides, I don't think that people actually develop without knowing, because most of the arrests and prosecutions we have done, people backfill wetlands in the wee hours of the night. 4 a.m., 3 a.m., they bring trucks and trucks of soil, and they dump in these wetlands, meaning that they are aware that actually they are doing a wrong thing. If you are doing the right thing, why should you do it in hiding?
At night. But in Uganda, we do many things at night. We even shift at night. But anyway.
Sometimes shifting at night may be because you don't want traffic jam, and at night there is no jam. But for these particular people, they are just evading the law. They are evading the law because if we find you, we arrest you, and the fine is very huge, and imprisonment is up to 15 years in jail.
Is that the only option? Like, is there a way you could advise? Because some people have inherited this land with the wetland.
It is true.
So how do they utilize their land?
Yes.
What advice do you give them?
It's true we have wetlands that have existed on private mile titles historically.
Yes.
That's for sure. Now, 1995 Constitution and 1998 law does not take away your ownership if your title was before the 1995. So the wetland is actually still on your title. Your title is still valid, but the government must regulate how you use it.
But us, we are buying from the 1995 guys.
Yes.
So we are also buying the wetlands.
Why would you buy a wetland?
Probably you find it has already been backfilled and you may not know.
Yes, if you don't know and you have doubts, you can write to NEMA. You can write to NEMA and say, I am intending to buy this land, but from its landscape, we are not sure whether it was a wetland which has been backfilled, so we are doing due diligence. We shall help you because we have a system, we have a capability to see land, how the land was up to 1960s.
Okay.
We can give you even an image of what it was before. That's part of due diligence to help safeguard your investment.
Does the report come with all those images?
No, the report comes with a map showing that you are good to go, it is green light, or you are in a wetland. And if you are in a wetland, the map will show you which wetland, if there are streams where they are located, everything will be on that map. And you will have a basis to either refuse to buy or buy knowing that you are buying a wetland. Now, there are activities which the law allows to take place in a wetland. You can do ecotourism.
Okay.
You can have a wetland for ecotourism. Those of you who have been to Chibale, there is a wetland called the Bigodi. Bigodi, it's a community wetland. It generates a lot of money for the community members through tourism. People come to watch birds in the wetland. So you can have your wetland for tourism, bird watching. You can also have your wetland for fish farming. We allow fish farming, provided the fish ponds are located at the edges of the wetland. In other words, the ponds are the boundary between the dry land and the wetland. So that way you can also use
I've seen
your
also
wetlands.
The hotel in Mbale Resort.
Yes.
It has a river flowing through it. Can't I do that as a private, as a homeowner? Probably, if I find myself with such a piece of land and build around wetland in a way that does not affect it, but makes me live with it, you know? Peacefully.
Yeah, if you are not going to backfill the wetland to heap soils and concrete
Yeah,
in order
you've
to
seen the
create
river
land.
through Mbale Resort.
Yes. If you are not going to backfill, you are going to use the wetland, but the wetland will remain serving the purpose for which God created it. That land use we can consider.
Okay.
If you can tell us how you are going to use it, provided you are not going to impair the wetland from performing its natural functions, which is water regulation, most importantly, and habitat for living organisms. You are not going to cut the wetland and then bring soil when we won't approve. But if you are going to leave it the way it is, and for example, you create an eco park or a natural park, that should be okay. There is no problem with it.
There have been many complaints about NEMA and the employees or consultants from NEMA on the issue of corruption and bribery. Probably when we come back in our next episode, that's where we will be starting from. But for tonight, please, any last words to our viewers?
We have since restructured NEMA, and if there are any cases of human factor, we have already addressed it. We have a new NEMA starting 1st July this year. So perhaps when we talk during the next episode, we shall give you more reforms. But part of the reforms is automation. You should be able to get your EIA certificate in the comfort of your sitting room on a click of a button. You apply online, we assess online, you pay online, we give you a certificate online. That way, we are going to remove the human element.
Thank you so much. Dear viewers, we have to run. You've been a very good audience.